Hey everybody, it's Tatiana, your favorite award-winning journalist, and hopefully your new favorite science writer. I just wanted to talk about what is this virus? What is SARS-CoV-2? Does it exist? Absolutely. Is it responsible for all of the deaths that are being recorded as COVID deaths? No, not necessarily. Believe it or not, with all of the mass testing that we've done, we still did not test every death. There is a basket of fatalities that the CDC uses, and you really can't separate it out because they don't give us that information. And so there are hundreds of thousands of deaths that actually fall into a basket of COVID-like symptoms, influenza-like illness, and pneumonia-like illness deaths. The CDC declined to use a second coding from the International Death Coding Agency because they said, in the United States, we do not include laboratory results on death certificates. Well, maybe you should. It might be a good idea so that we can preserve the very fabric and foundation of society. Maybe we should have figured that out. Because even with the CDC admitting that 6% of all deaths had no comorbidities, that still doesn't prove that there weren't underlying causes, and I will tell you why. ACE2. Now, the ACE2 receptor you may have heard of, maybe your grandfather or someone you know was taking ACE2 inhibitors, ACE blockers, angiotensin blockers, the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system. This is a network throughout the entire body, and through it, in the kidneys, it tells your body when to produce more fluid, when to retain the fluid, when to tell your brain to crave salt. So it's in the brain, it's in the heart, it's in the lungs, it's in the gut, and it's in the reproductive organs. It being angiotensin converting enzyme 2. Angiotensin converting enzyme 2 regulates the level of angiotensin 2. Angiotensin 2 only goes one direction. It constricts your veins. But ACE2, it regulates this so that you don't have a stroke and have another kind of tragic outcome. Because ACE2, this enzyme, is actually monitoring the situation, working with all of your organs in this system. Oddly enough, SARS-1 from 2003 and SARS-2 from 2019, they both enter the human cells through the ACE2 receptor. That means that they're entering all over the body. Now, why is this important? This is important because it explains why we might not be able to tell when someone actually has a vulnerability. I say, oh, they had no pre-existing conditions. This doesn't make any, this must be negligence by the government. So what we have to understand is this is the first time coronaviruses have used the ACE2 receptor. Previously, coronaviruses in humans didn't cause much harm, and they used a different receptor. There is one other that came out between SARS-1 and SARS-2, and it's called NL63. It was found in Amsterdam in 2004, but I believe it's related. And also, you got to remember that SARS-1 has 79% of the genome of SARS-2. So it has not been established that that they evolved over time naturally and ended up in caves. It has not. Even the study cited by Dr. Fauci on the Sunday shows today, July 25th, 2021, he was saying, oh, well, we went to Wuhan, or we funded this in Wuhan, he's admitting it now, because, that's where SARS-1 emerged, and it was Mother Nature. And he's said that a lot. Well, I went and looked at the study that claimed, we finally found the smoking gun that caused SARS-1. No, read it. They cannot say that they established the genetic link. They will only say possibly, likely, maybe. Now, why am I suspicious that SARS-1 and SARS-2 are not natural? They just got a lot deadlier to humans, right? And they enter through these cells. It's just a very interesting thing that it never seems to be really clear. How deadly is this? Is it really 1%? Deadly? Well, yes, it is. It has been the whole time. SARS-1 was 10% deadly. 10% of people who got SARS-1 died. But there is a theory, some don't agree with it, but it basically says that a new virus, if it jumps from animals to humans, it's going to be more deadly in its first incarnation. And then as it mutates, it's going to be more contagious but less deadly. We saw that with SARS-2. We also saw that with the Delta variant. Notice when they're doing the articles on that, they're saying, oh, it's even more contagious, but they're not saying that it's more deadly. We also need to remember that all of the vaccines, including AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson, a study shows that they enter your cells and teach your cells to create this glycoprotein, the spike protein, that is on the surface of the virus and enters our cells through the ACE2 receptor. They're introducing a foreign strand of DNA that teaches your cells, which are all over your body, to create this glycoprotein. It is a foreign glycoprotein so that apparently it will flag your T cells, your immune system, to begin to attack it. Why would you need spike proteins all over the entire body, already messing with your cells and taking them over in every area of your body, to attract your immune system's attention? Your immune system is designed to attack pathogens. That's why they have to give immunosuppressant drugs when they do transplants. That's why if a delivering mother is Rh negative and the baby is Rh positive with their blood type, that's why they have to give them immunosuppressant drugs so that the infant's body will not reject the blood it's receiving from the expectant mother. The immune system is so strong that when they're trying to do gene therapy, they have to figure out how to go undetected by it. Now, does that make sense? Hey, I'm a science writer. I'm not a scientist, but I know how to analyze data. A former executive with Pfizer, and he is saying exactly what I am saying as well. He's also saying the scientific community is compromised, that those who are retired, they have been told by academia and the government not to go against the government. And then everyone else, they might be in their own little specialty and they don't realize that the therapies, the real therapies, have been hidden by censorship, by studies. A study shows that 0.02% of people could have a cardiac event if they take hydroxychloroquine, which is deemed safe for pregnant women. They're going to stop all trials of that, yet there have already been almost 11,000 deaths from those who have had the COVID vaccine from high blood pressure, thrombosis, myocardia, and other things tied to the circulatory system. So you want to put those spike proteins all over the body to attract the attention of your immune system, hey, right? I'm here. And then don't overreact, because when the immune system overreacts, it actually starts to attack the body itself. So putting more stimulation into the body when our T cells are designed to attack anything that is foreign. You might say, well, what about the other vaccines? I mean, we got rid of polio. We got rid of smallpox. We got rid of measles in this country. Let me just say that things are not always what they seem. There has been a very long history with very different complex outcomes from these vaccines. And actually, we have not eliminated some of these viruses. It's not because the unvaccinated are getting sick with it and then transferring it over. This is complicated, but I will say this all goes back to the asymptomatic carrier, and the asymptomatic carrier is a myth. Most people who are asymptomatic, their body has already dealt with the virus with their immune system, and they're not spewing out the virus, because when you're symptomatic is when you spew out the virus. You may say, oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about. However, I have spent 18 months researching the hinges by which the arguments turn, the government's arguments. And I'm telling you right now, it is a very coordinated effort to convince the middle managers that anyone questioning things is mistaken. And what is happening is the fact checkers are taking arguments by people who are legitimately questioning things, and they're twisting the arguments. Sound familiar? For instance, it's widely known, and I have studies to prove it, that cell entry by the COVID-19 virus has to be under acidic conditions. Now, does that mean your blood is acidic? Does it mean your cells are acidic? Does it mean the virus is acidic? No. But the fact checkers are saying, they're quoting doctors as saying, blood does not have a pH. Cells do not have a pH. Viruses do not have a pH. But the complex system of enzymes and proteins that brings the spike protein to fuse with the cell membrane, that must undergo its procedure with an acidic pH. Now, it's also been shown, even in studies I read early in 2020 by Chinese doctors, I'm sure they're trying to do the right thing. It's also been shown that zinc is a natural protector of the cell membrane. I don't know exactly how it works, but why? Why have those clinical trials not been completed already? This is very disturbing. So it's not that the virus doesn't exist. It's not that the people would have died anyway. They may have had many good years, but whatever we did do as a society was very, very much the absolute wrong thing. And for all the talk that the NIH and Dr. Fauci have made about how we have to be ready for this, we've been preparing for this, they sure are doing some really bonehead moves. I don't know why they're doing it. I just know that they're doing it. They're censoring simple therapies. They're creating vaccines which create a spike protein and create a lot of stimulus for your immune system all over the body. And they're also suppressing data on all of it. So there you go. Now you know that those who are questioning this whole thing in our response to the virus are not saying the virus doesn't exist or eat organic food or take vitamin C. No, there's a lot of nuance involved. There's 2 stages to the disease. For some reason, though, we just keep getting this mantra of science, 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 science. You know, I wish we could thin the herd. I and others who have done a lot of research, we're being vocal because we are very concerned. We don't know why everyone is being encouraged to inject something that will then teach their cells to create a spike protein that does not exist in their body. But we know that it's being done. So please do your research, question everything, question the stats that say only the unvaccinated are dying. I can show you in the description how to look and see and evaluate that information. But I think that's enough for tonight. And I'm doing these videos. They're not perfect, but I'm doing them because I'm very concerned. If you've gotten the vaccine, there are ways for you to strengthen your body to deal with the spike proteins that are being created. The fact checkers will tell you that they don't last in the body, but I'm telling you, because it grabs onto the renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system, that isn't necessarily going to go away quickly. When I've been looking at the assurances that this spike protein will go away and it'll just be shuffled off to shed, out of your body, which, by the way, when you get the vaccine, it actually does shed. So you are contagious for a little while with any vaccine, also with this one. But creating this spike protein all over your body, you need to be informed. There are things you can do to help minimize this and mitigate this while we figure out exactly what's going on. Now, one more thing. Do the vaccines work? Do they work? Yes, I think they work. Are they worth it? Did they tax your immune system so much that your immune system is tired? It's quite a possibility because that research has been minimized and suppressed. Do they work? I have read the vaccine effectiveness studies, and they'll say, like in a certain age group, it's such and such a percent effective. But when I read the vaccine effectiveness studies, the range of effectiveness was something from less than 50% to 90%. And the only time you have a range that big with vaccine effectiveness studies is when you have a small sample size. So if you go and zoom in into the studies about vaccine effectiveness, the sample sizes are small. Plus, what's to stop the spike proteins from being produced, right, from the vaccine, the RNA that went in there and instructed your cells, and then you catch a wild type virus that's airborne and you just get more spike proteins. You'll probably test positive again. Not every disease has a vaccine. They failed in getting an AIDS vaccine. This video is not to prevent you from taking something that will cure you or prevent you from getting COVID-19. It might. Furthermore, there have been a lot of breakthrough cases, including deaths. A lot of times it'll take the scientific community years to come around to the truth. That's why it behooves us to just make sure we're doing our due diligence and we're really looking at the science. That's why I'm here, your favorite science reporter. So I hope you got something out of this. If you did, please consider sharing because our entire civilization really is at stake. I don't know what the end game is, but I do know that there's no reason anyone should be taking something that might possibly harm them or might not be the right therapy when there are so many other things that have been shown to work. Thanks again. Please share, like, subscribe, and above all, keep calm and share complete facts. Bye-bye.